All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into some interesting data.
Well, today we're diving headfirst into the crypto world, and things are getting pretty exciting, wouldn't you say?
Definitely seeing some major movement, especially with Bitcoin.
It's October 31st, 2024, Halloween, and Bitcoin's decided to throw on quite a costume.
A record-breaking one, I'd say.
It's on the verge of smashing its all-time high. We're talking over $73,000. Haven't seen that since April.
A level a lot of people thought we might not see again for quite some time.
And to make things even more interesting, it's all happening just days before a major U.S. election. Makes you wonder, right?
The timing is definitely interesting. Could be a coincidence, but it's hard not to see a potential connection.
We're going to get into all that. Plus, we'll take a look at how Coinbase, one of the biggest players in the crypto exchange game, is doing amidst all this excitement. So, first things first, that all-time high for Bitcoin, it's not just a number, is it?
No, definitely not. It's a huge psychological marker for investors. Remember, Bitcoin is known for its volatility, huge swings up and down. So to see it climbing back to these heights, well, it's a signal, maybe a sign of confidence returning.
So if you're an investor, someone watching this unfold right now, what's going through your mind? Are you tempted to jump in?
I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that pull, but it's a tricky decision. You've got the potential for growth, of course, but there's still that inherent risk. Bitcoin's not exactly known for being stable.
It's a gamble, like so much in the crypto world.
Exactly. And it's not just about the price of Bitcoin itself. We have to look at the bigger picture. Things like its market cap. That's the total value of all Bitcoin in circulation.
Okay, break that down for us a bit. Why is market cap important? What does it tell us?
Well, think of it this way. Market cap helps you understand the overall size and influence of Bitcoin, how it stacks up against other assets. Right now, Bitcoin has a high market cap, which on one hand suggests a certain level of stability.
But on the other hand,
On the other hand, it could mean that future price swings might not be as dramatic. So less potential for huge gains, but also less potential for huge losses.
it's a trade-off then. Stability versus the chance of hitting it big or losing big.
Pretty much sums it up. Risk versus reward, that's always the question.
But let's get back to this election for a second. It's hard to ignore that this Bitcoin surge is happening right before a major political event. Think that's just a coincidence.
It's certainly possible. But we've seen this kind of thing before, Bitcoin acting as a safe haven asset. During times of uncertainty, political or economic, some investors turn to Bitcoin, see it as a hedge against potential volatility.
So they're thinking if the election throws things into chaos, Bitcoin might be a safer bet.
In a way, yes. It's all about managing risk, looking for stability when things feel unpredictable. And let's be clear, we're not taking sides politically here.
Of course not. We're just exploring the potential connections, how these events might be intertwined. Okay, so we've got Bitcoin potentially reacting to the election, hitting an all-time high. But what about the companies that are knee-deep in the crypto world? Like Coinbase, they just released their third quarter earnings, and there's a bit of a twist there.
Yet Coinbase actually turned a profit this quarter, which is good news for them. But here's the catch. This happened despite overall crypto trading volume being a bit lower than usual.
So less trading activity, but more profit. How does that add up?
Well, Coinbase has a few different revenue streams. The most obvious is transaction fees. When users buy or sell crypto, they take a cut.
Makes sense, that's their bread and butter, right?
Right. But they also offer other services, like staking. This lets users earn rewards by holding certain cryptocurrencies.
So even if people aren't actively trading as much, Coinbase can still generate revenue through these other services.
Exactly. They're diversifying, not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Smart move, especially in a market as unpredictable as crypto. But wait a minute, I read that Coinbase's stock actually dipped a bit, even though they reported a profit. That doesn't seem right.
It does seem counterintuitive, but the crypto world doesn't always follow the usual rules. Investors are keeping a close eye on that trading volume. It's a key indicator of how active the platform is, how much revenue Coinbase can potentially generate in the future.
So even though they're profitable now, lower trading volume means less potential for growth down the line, and that spooked some investors.
Exactly. It's all about expectations and future prospects. Coinbase needs to show they can sustain this profitability even if trading activity stays low. Otherwise, investors might start to lose confidence.
It's a tough balancing act for them. They need to find ways to keep growing, even when the market's a bit sluggish.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Navigating a market that can change on a dime. One minute you're riding high, the next you're scrambling to adapt.
And that's what makes this so fascinating, right? It's a constant evolution, never a dull moment.
Absolutely. Buckle up, because it looks like we're in for a wild ride. Makes you wonder what's next for the whole crypto scene, right? I mean, Coinbase is doing their thing, but it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, we've been focused on Bitcoin, but zoom out a bit. What about the whole cryptocurrency landscape? What's on the horizon for this whole industry? Where are things headed?
Well, one thing's for sure, regulation's a big one. A big question mark hanging over everything. Right now, it's a mixed bag. Every country's got their own approach. Some are stricter, some are more hands-off.
It's like the Wild West out there, a bit chaotic.
Exactly. And that uncertainty makes things tricky, both for investors and for the companies trying to build in this space.
More clarity, some consistency, that would be a big step, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Leveling the playing field a bit would make things a lot more stable.
Mhm.
But beyond regulation, there's the big question of adoption. How mainstream is this really going to get? I mean, everyone's heard of Bitcoin, but how many people are actually using it, really using it?
Yeah, you hear all this talk about mainstream adoption, but it still feels like there's a barrier to entry for a lot of
It's
folks.
not exactly intuitive, right? For the average person, the whole thing can feel a bit complicated, like learning a new language almost.
It's like anything new, there's that learning curve, and then there's the whole tech side of it. Sometimes it feels like you need a degree in computer science just to understand it.
You're not wrong. And for crypto to really go mainstream, we need to make it easier, more user-friendly,
Yeah.
better education, platforms that anyone can use. That's key.
Simplify, right? Make it accessible. Like back in the early days of the internet, it was all dial-up modems and confusing commands.
Exactly. Now everyone's online, your grandma's on Facebook, it's become part of life. Crypto could go that way, but it needs to be easier to use, that's for sure.
Makes sense. But while we wait for that wider adoption, there's another issue that keeps popping up. The environmental impact, the elephant in the room. Bitcoin mining, that's been a big target for criticism. All that energy consumption, it's a real concern.
Absolutely. Sustainability, that's got to be top of mind. The good news is there are some cryptocurrencies that are already using more eco-friendly mining methods, more efficient, less energy intensive. That's the direction we need to be heading in.
So it's not all doom and gloom. There are some greener options out there.
Definitely. It's about making smarter choices, looking for those sustainable solutions.
All right, so we've got regulation, adoption, and sustainability. Those are three big pieces of the puzzle. But what about the wild cards, the things we can't predict, the things that might come out of left field? Anything on your radar?
Well, the tech itself, it's constantly changing, evolving at warp speed. Things like DeFi, decentralized finance, that's a big one. And NFTs, non-fungible tokens, those are gaining traction too. Who knows where that'll lead?
DeFi, NFTs, I gotta be honest, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all that.
It's a lot to take in, yeah. DeFi, basically, it's about creating a more open fund ecosystem, cutting out the middleman, no more banks controlling everything. And NFTs, think of them like digital ownership certificates, but for anything. Digital art, collectibles, you name it.
So digital art, sure, I get that. But collectibles, what else could you use an NFT for?
That's the thing. The possibilities are endless. People are using them for real estate, event tickets, even items in video games. It's still early days. Who knows where it'll go?
It's like the Wild West all over again, but in the digital world this time. So much potential, so much uncharted territory. It's pretty amazing to think about. But let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. We've covered a lot, and I know it can feel overwhelming, especially if you're new to all this. What advice would you give to someone who's listening to this thinking, okay, this crypto stuff sounds interesting, but where do I even begin?
First things first, educate yourself. Do your research. There's a ton of information out there, articles, videos, online courses. Dive in. The more you understand, the better equipped you'll be. And remember, there are risks. Don't go in blind.
Good advice. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but it's important to understand what you're getting into.
Absolutely. And start small. Don't put in more than you can afford to lose. Think of it like an experiment. Learn as you go. No need to bet the farm on day one.
Wise words. We're not giving financial advice here, of course, but we do want to help people navigate this world safely. So education, starting small, those are good first steps. But what about the mental game? Crypto can be a roller coaster. Emotions run high. There's FOMO, fear of missing out. How do you deal with that?
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the frenzy, especially when you see prices skyrocketing. But remember, this is a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs. You got to ride the waves, have a plan, a strategy, and stick to it. Don't let your emotions dictate your moves.
So no panic selling when things dip and no going all in just because something's pumping.
Exactly. Stay level-headed. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are communities online, forums, people who are going through the same thing. Connect, share knowledge, support each other.
Strength in numbers, right. Having that community can make a big difference, especially when things get volatile. So we've talked about regulation, adoption, sustainability of the tech, the wild cards. We've given some advice for newcomers. But from your perspective, what's the most exciting thing about the future of crypto? What gets you pumped? What are you looking forward to seeing unfold?
That's a tough one. There's so much potential. It's hard to pick just one thing. But I think for me, it's the idea of empowerment. Crypto could change the game, give people more control over their own finances, create a more equitable system.
Interesting. So how could crypto lead to more financial equity?
Think about it. Traditional finance, it leaves a lot of people behind. Those who are unbanked, underbanked, no access to traditional services, high fees, discrimination. Crypto could change that. It's decentralized, it's open, it could give people more options, more opportunities, more control. That's powerful.
It's like a whole new financial frontier, a chance to build something better, something fairer.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so compelling. It's not just about making money, it's about making a difference. Using technology to create a better future, a more inclusive future.
It feels like we're on the cusp of something big, like we're witnessing a paradigm shift. And to think, it all started with a digital coin called Bitcoin.
It's amazing how far we've come, and it's just the beginning. Who knows what the next chapter holds? But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting ride. It really does feel like we're at a turning point. Bitcoin's pushing new boundaries, the election's looming, and companies like Coinbase, they're navigating this whole new world.
It's a lot to process, for sure. So much is happening at once. But let's zoom out for a minute and think about the bigger picture. Where do things go from here for Bitcoin? I mean, will it actually break that all-time high?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Will it keep climbing, or will we see a correction, a pullback? And then there's the election. How will that play out? How will the results impact the market, investor sentiment? A lot of unknowns right now, a lot of speculation.
Uncertainty, that seems to be the theme when it comes to crypto, right? Always keeps you guessing.
Definitely keeps things interesting. But it's not just about Bitcoin. We have to look at the broader landscape. Regulation, that's a big one, a wild card.
Hmm.
Will governments around the world step in, create more clear guidelines, or will things stay fragmented? This patchwork of different approaches that'll have a huge impact on how things develop.
Yeah, regulation could be a catalyst for growth, or it could stifle innovation. It's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. And then there's the tech itself, the innovation. That's what drives this whole space forward. What new ideas will emerge? What problems will they solve? What opportunities will they create? DeFi, NFTs, those are just the beginning. There's so much more to explore.
It's like we're on the edge of a new frontier, uncharted territory. Anything is possible. It's exciting, but also a little daunting, wouldn't you say?
It's both, for sure. It's
Yeah.
a challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity to be a part of something truly groundbreaking. And that's what I love about it, that sense of possibility, that feeling that we're building something new, something that could change the world.
All right, so we've talked about a lot today. Bitcoin's record run, Coinbase's earnings, the election, regulation, the future of crypto. It's been a whirlwind tour, a lot to digest. But for our listeners, what's the one thing they should take away from all this, the key message?
I think the most important takeaway is this. We're witnessing a revolution, a financial revolution. Crypto is not just a technology, it's a movement, a force for change. And it's not just for the tech-savvy or the Wall Street elites, it's for everyone. It's about empowering individuals, giving them more control, more opportunities.
It's about democratizing finance, making it accessible to all.
Exactly. And that's a powerful idea, an idea worth exploring, an idea worth fighting for.
Well said. And at the end of the day, the future of crypto, it's not something that's going to be decided by a few powerful players. It's something that we'll all shape together through our choices, our actions, our engagement.
It's a collective journey, and we're all in this together.
And that's what makes this so exciting, so full of potential. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of crypto. We hope you learned something. We hope you're as intrigued as we are. Until next time, stay curious.